In this video, I'm going to be giving you a complete guide for every single quest in Block Fruits. And starting off, the very first quest that you get once you enter the game depends on whether you choose Pirate or Marine. If you choose the Pirate team, then you spawn on the Pirate Starter Island. You have one quest, and that is the Bandits. And you get it from the quest giver who's located right next to this exclamation mark sign. The Bandits are level 0. They give you 300 XP and 350 belly per quest. And if you choose the Marine team, then you spawn on the Marine Starter Island. And here you have to defeat the trainees. You get the quest from an NPC called the Marine Lieutenant. And they give you the exact same XP and money as the Pirates. Moving on to the next island, which is the jungle. The quest giver NPC's name here is called the Adventurer, and he gives you a total of 3 different quests. The first one is the Monkey, which is a level 10 quest, and it gives you 2300 XP as well as 800 belly. Next up, we got the Gorillas, and for these you need to be level 15, and these give you 4500 XP with 1200 belly. Next up, we got the boss for this quest, and this is the Gorilla King. You have to be level 20 to fight this guy, and he gives you 9500 XP with 2000 belly. Moving on to the next island, this is the Pirate Village, and the NPC that gives you the quest is called the Pirate Adventurer. And just like the jungle, this also has 3 quests. The first one is the Pirate, which you need to be level 30 to take. It gives you 13,000 XP with 3000 belly, and the pirates have cutlasses, so make sure you're careful while fighting them. Next up, we got the Brutes. These guys are level 40. They give you 22,000 XP and 3,500 belly, and these guys use the Iron Mace to fight. And they also have a lot more health, so be careful with this. Next up, we got the boss, who's called Bobby, aka Buggy. To fight this guy, you need to be level 55, and he gives you 45,000 XP with 8,000 belly, and he also uses the chop food as well as the cutlass sword. Moving on to the Desert Island, we got the Desert Adventurer, and this guy gives you 2 quests. The first one is the Desert Bandits, which you have to be level 60 to fight, and the Desert Officers. Once you complete the quest for the Desert Bandits, you get 45,000 XP with 4,000 belly, and these guys use a cutlass as their weapon. For the Desert Officers, you get 65,000 XP with 4,500 belly, and these guys also use the cutlass to fight. Moving on to the next island, this one is called the Frozen Village, and the quest giver is called the Villager. It gives you 3 different quests with 1 boss quest. The first one is called the Sandman, and you need to be level 90 for this. Once you complete the quest, you get 90,000 XP with 5,000 belly, and these guys use a katana as their weapon. Next up, we got the Snowman, which you have to be level 100 for, and they give you 150,000 XP with 5,500 belly. Moving on to the boss, who's called the Yeti. You need to be level 105 to fight this guy, and he gives you 220,000 XP with 10,000 belly. Moving on to Marine Fortress, the quest giver here is called the Marine, and he gives you 2 different quests. The first one is the Chief Petty Officer, which you need to be level 120 to accept, and it gives you 225,000 XP along with 6,000 belly, and these guys use dual katana to fight. Moving on to the boss quest, and this guy is called the Vice Admiral, and you need to be level 130 to fight this guy. He gives you a total of 415,000 XP, and he gives you 15,000 belly, and this guy uses the triple katana to fight. Moving on to Skylands, the NPC here is called the Sky Adventurer, and he gives you 2 quests. The first one is for the Sky Bandits, who are level 150, and the second one is for the Dark Master, who are level 175. The Sky Bandits use a dual katana to fight, while the Dark Masters use the Iron Mace. The money you get for both of them is 7,000 belly. Moving on to the prison, we actually got 2 different quest givers here, which is pretty cool, because this is the first island to do that. Starting off, the first guy is called the Jailkeeper, and he gives you 2 quests. First one is for prisoners, and the second one is for dangerous prisoners. To accept the prisoners quest, you have to be level 190, and to accept the dangerous prisoners quest, you have to be level 210. The prisoners give you 7,000 belly, and the dangerous prisoners give you 7,500 belly. The dangerous prisoners use a cutlass, so they're a little bit harder to fight, and obviously their levels also higher. Moving on to the next quest, which you get from the head jailer. He literally only gives you boss quests. The first one is for the Warden, who uses a dual katana to fight, and is level 220. Next up, we got the Chief Warden, who's level 230, and he uses the Warden's sword to fight, and you actually have a chance of getting it dropped if you kill the guy. Next up, we got the Swan Boss, who's level 240, and he actually uses the Spider Fruit to fight, so be careful while you're farming this guy. He's pretty difficult to fight against. Moving on to the next island, this is the Coliseum, and there's only 1 quest over here. The first one is for the Toga Warriors, who are level 250. You get 1.1 million XP from this quest and 7,000 belly. Next up, we got the Gladiators, who are level 275, and you get 1.3 million XP for this quest and 7,500 belly, and neither of these guys use weapons. Moving on to the Magma Village, the quest giver here is called the Mayor. The first quest is for the military soldiers, who are level 300. They use katana, and they also have 50% aura unlocked. Next up, we got the military spies, who are level 325, and they got aura as well as flash them. Next up, we got the boss of this place, who's the Magma Admiral, who's level 350. He gives you 3 million XP when you kill him, and he uses the magma fruit to fight. Not really the current version that we have in the game, but the really old version. Moving on to Underwater City, we got King Neptune as the quest giver here, and he gives you a total of 3 quests. The first one is for the Fishman Warriors, who are level 375, and they use the katana to fight. Then we got the Fishman Commandors, who are level 400, and they use the triple katana to fight. Next up, we got the Fishman Lord, who's level 410, 1025, and this guy actually uses a trident to fight. And if you end up getting this dropped, you can actually kind of become budget Spider-Man. Moving on to Upper Sky, we got two different NPCs here just like the prison. The first one is called the Mole, and he gives you the quest for God's Guards. These guys are level 450 and they use the dual-headed blade to fight. Next up we got the Shandas, and these guys are level 475 and they don't really have a weapon. Next up we got the Whisper Boss. This guy's level 500 and he uses the bazooka to fight. Moving on to Sky Quest Giver 2, because that's literally his name. This guy gives you the quest for the Royal Guards, who are level 525, as well as the quest for the Royal Soldiers, who are level 550, and these guys don't use weapons at all. Finally, he gives you a quest for the Thunder God, who's level 575, and this guy actually uses the Rumble Fruit as well as the Pole V1. And I recommend fighting this guy because you have a chance of getting the Pole V1 dropped, and once you upgrade it to Pole V2, it becomes a really overpowered sword. Moving on to the next quest giver, this guy's located at Fountain City and he's called Freezeburg. The first quest he gives you is for the Galley Pirates. These guys are level 625 and they use the Katana to fight. Next up we got the Galley Captains, and these guys use the Cutlass to fight and they're level 650. Moving on to the final boss of the first sea, we got the Sarborg. This guy's level 675 and he's actually a boss that has a chance of dropping the cool shades. And if you didn't know, this guy's literally just Frankie from One Piece. Moving on to the second sea, the first quest we got here is at the Kingdom of Rose Area 1. The quest giver is literally called Area 1 quest giver. He gives you a quest for the Raiders, who are level 700, as well as the Mercenaries, who are level 725. Both of these guys do not use weapons. Next up we got the Diamond Boss, who's level 750, and this guy uses the long sword to fight. Moving on to the Area 2 quest giver, this guy lets you fight the Swan Pirates, who are level 775, and these guys use the Katana to fight. Then we got the Factory Staff, who actually use the Bomb, Smoke, or Spike Fruit. It's completely random on which one you fight against, but the smoke ones are hardest to fight in my opinion, because you need hockey. Moving on to the boss for this quest, this guy is called Jeremy, and you need to be level 850 to fight him. And be careful because he also uses the Spring Fruit. Moving on to the Coliseum quest, this is actually just kind of a side quest that you can equip from Bartillo at the cafe to get the Warrior's helmet, as well as being capable for Race V2. Moving on to the Green Zone, we got the Marine quest giver. He gives you a quest to fight the Marine Lieutenant, and you have to be level 875 to accept this quest. And these guys use katanas to fight. Then we got the Marine Captains, who you have to be level 900 to fight, and these guys use katana as well as hockey. Next we got Vegeta, who's actually the boss of this quest, and you have to be level 925 to fight this guy. He uses the Gravity Cane as well as the Gravity Fruit, which is not that crazy considering it's literally like the worst mythical fruit in the game. Moving on to the next island, which is the Graveyard Island. This guy is called the Graveyard Quest Giver, and he lets you fight the zombies, who are level 950, as well as the vampires, who are level 975, and these guys actually have flash steps, so be careful while fighting them. Moving on to the Snow Mountains, we got the Snow Quest Giver, and this guy gives you the quest to fight the Snow Trooper as well as the Winter Warrior. For the Snow Trooper, you got to be level 1000, and these guys use the dual katana to fight. Then we got the Winter Warrior, and to fight these guys you have to be level 1050, and these guys actually don't use a weapon. Moving on to the Hot and Cold Island, the first one is the Ice Quest Giver, and they give you the quest to fight the Lab Subordinate, who's level 1100, and these guys use the pipe to fight. Then we got the Horned Warriors, who use the Ice Fruit to fight, and they're level 1125. Then we got the Smoke Admiral, who's a level 1150 boss, and this guy uses the Smoke Fruit as well as the Jite Sword. Moving on to the hot side of this island, we got the Fire Quest Giver, and this guy lets you fight the Magma Ninjas, who are level 1175, and they use the dual-headed blade. Then we got the Lava Pirates, who actually just use the Magma Fruit to fight. Moving on to the Cursed Ship, we actually got two different quest givers here. The first one is called the Rare Crew Quest Giver, and he lets you fight the ship Deccan. These guys are level 1250. Then we got the ship Engineers, who are level 1275, and these guys also use Flash Step as well as hockey. Moving on to the second NPC at the ship, we got the Front Crew Quest Giver, and this guy lets you fight the ship Stewards, who are level 1300, and these guys use a cutlass as a weapon. Then we got the ship Officers, who also use a cutlass as their weapon, and these guys are level 1325. Moving on to the Ice Castle, we got the Frost Quest Giver, and this guy lets you fight the Arctic Warriors, who are level 1350, and these guys use katanas as their weapon. Then we got the Snow Lurkers, who are level 1375, and these guys use the Ice Fruit as well as hockey. Finally, we got the boss of this place, who is the Awakened Ice Admiral, who's level 1400, and he uses the Awakened Ice Fruit. And this is actually the first boss in the game that uses an Awakened Fruit, so be careful while fighting this guy. Moving on to the Forgotten Island, we got the Forgotten Quest Giver, and this guy gives you a quest to fight the Sea Soldiers, who are level 1425, and these guys use Water Kung Fu to fight. Then we got the Water Fighters, who are level 1450, and these guys also use Water Kung Fu, but they paired up with hockey. Then we got the Tidekeeper, who's a level 1475 boss. He literally gives you 51 million XP when you kill him, and he uses the Dragon Trident, which is a really overpowered sword. Anyways, moving on to the third sea, the first quest giver we got here is located at Port Town, and this guy's called the Pirate Port Quest Giver. He lets you fight the Pirate Millionaires, who are level 1500, and these guys use a Bizento as their weapon. Then we got the Pistol Billionaires, who are level 1525, and these guys use the Refined Musket. Then we got the first boss of the third sea, who's the Stone Boss, and this is a level 1550 boss, and he uses the Bomb Fruit to fight. Moving on to Hydra Island, we actually got two quest givers here. The first one is the Amazon Quest Giver, who lets you fight the Dragon Crew Warriors, who are level 1575, and they use the Long Sword to fight. Then we got the Dragon Crew Archers, who are level 1600, and these guys use the Serpent Bow to fight. And next up we got the Amazon Area 2 Quest Giver, who lets you fight the female islanders who are level 1625, and these guys use the iron mace to fight. Then we got the giant islanders who are level 1650, and these guys just have hockey. Next up we got the island empress, who's actually the boss of this island. It's a level 1675 boss who uses the old version of the love fruit. Moving on to the great tree island, we only got one NPC here. He's called the marine tree quest giver, and he gives you the quest for the marine commandors who are level 1700, and they use the dual katana as well as hockey. Then we got the marine rear admirals who use the spin fruit. Then we got the kilo admiral, who's a level 1750 boss who drops 78 million XP as well as 35,000 belly, and this boss uses the kilo fruit. Moving on to the turtle island, we actually have 3 different quest givers here. This is the first island so far who has 3 different quest givers in the same place. The first one is called the turtle adventurer quest giver, and this one lets you fight the fishman raiders who are level 1775, and they use the shark saw to fight. Next up we got the fishman captain, who is level 1800, and they fight with the trident. Moving on to the next quest giver, he gives you a quest to fight the forest pirates who are level 1825, and these guys just have hockey. Then we got the mythological pirates who are level 1850, and they use the electric fighting style as well as hockey. Then we got Captain Elephant, who's a level 1875 boss who uses the twin hooks to fight. Moving on to deep forest area number 2, we got the jungle pirates who are level 1900 NPCs, and they use the dark step fighting style. Then we got the musketeer pirates who are level 1925 NPCs, and they use the Cavender sword as well as flash step. Moving on to the final boss of this island, we got the beautiful pirate who's a level 1950 boss, and he uses the Cavender sword to fight just like the previous NPCs. Moving on to the haunted castle island, we got 2 different quest givers here. The first one lets you fight the reborn skeletons who are level 1975, and they use the dark step fighting style. Next up are the living zombies who are level 2000, and they use the flash step as well as the superhuman fighting style. Just the M1, not any abilities. Moving on to the next quest giver, they let you fight the demonic soul who are level 2025 NPCs, and these guys use the flame fruit. Then we got the possessed mummies who are level 2050, and these guys actually use the dark fruit. Moving on to the sea of treats, we got a butt ton of quest givers here because it's not really one island, it's just made of a butt ton of smaller islands. The first NPC lets you fight the peanut scouts who have a cutlass, and these guys are level 2075. Then we got the peanut residents who are level 2100, and they use hockey to fight. Moving on to the next quest giver, we got the ice cream chef. These guys are level 2125, and they use the dark step fighting style. Then we got the ice cream commandors who are level 2150, and these guys use the dual headed blade to fight. Then we got the cake queen, who's actually the most powerful boss in the game right now. This is a level 2175 boss, and she uses the buddy sword to fight. Moving on to the next place, we got the cookie crafters. To fight these guys you need to be level 2200. Next up we got the cake guard, and to fight these guys you need to be level 2225, and these guys actually use the triple katana as well as hockey. Moving on to the next NPCs, we got the baking staff, and to fight these guys you have to be level 2250, and these guys actually have hockey. Next up we got the head baker, and to fight these guys you need to be level 2275, and these guys also use the flame fruit as well as hockey. The next NPCs are called the cocoa warriors, and these guys are level 2300, and they just use hockey. Just like the chocolate bar batter, that's a pretty weird name for an NPC. These guys are level 2325, and just like the ones before, these guys just use hockey. Next up we got the sweet thief, and these guys are level 2350, and they just use hockey. And after that we got the candy rebel, which is exactly the same as the one before, but these guys are level 2375. Moving on to the final NPC of the Sea of Treats, we got the candy cane quest givers. These guys let you fight the candy pirates who are level 2400, as well as the snow demons who are level 2425, and both of these guys use hockey as their weapon. Moving on to Tiki outpost, we got 2 different NPCs here. The first one is the Tiki quest giver 1. These guys let you fight the Islay outlaws if you're level 2450, and they also let you fight the island boys if you're level 2475. Both of these guys use hockey as their weapon. Moving on to the second quest giver, they let you fight the sun-kissed warriors, but you have to be level 2500. Next up we got the Islay champions, and to fight these guys you need to be level 2525, and these guys are the most powerful quest NPCs in the game, and that's pretty much it.